Hey there guys, and welcome to another Factorio Friday Facts discussion number 353 trailer update, and I am joined by Bombug as always.
Hello, hello. How you doing today, X?
Doing pretty good. I think we're both pretty tired right now, ready for the weekend.
Oh yeah, it cannot come soon enough. I gotta do some grinding on Path of Exile, man. What am I
Same.
doing at this job thing?
Just quit.
You
You can
know?
make the same amount of money on PoE, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just
Yeah.
flipping currency at least.
Yeah, exactly. So also guys, you probably noticed this is a bit of a different layout. We are on the new website. I actually do plan to do a video going over the new website and taking a look at it and sharing my thoughts, but that will be a different video than this. So this one, some stuff on the trailer, some stuff on the local plan. I'm just going to summarize this first section as briefly as I can. Basically, they received the English proofreadings from Altagram, which they kind of discussed quite a few Friday Facts ago about how they were going with them. And overall, this is cloned and integrated over 500 suggestions. And in the game, most are pretty small, like replacing can't with cannot, stuff like that. It's basically exactly what they needed. Sure, some inconsistencies they had. But it was very noticeable to the great community translators at Crowden that when they update the English streams, the translations have to be updated on Crowden. For the last few days, he's been working through the issues raised on Crowden, and there was a lot of good input on that last 1% of the changes. So this basically, they finished the English proofreading phase, and then starting on Monday, Altagram will start proofreading the other languages, filling in any missing strings and such. It'll take about 3 weeks. They have their own translation system for their team, which is pretty cool. So it isn't really feasible to include Crowden in this part of the work. They will just take the content from Crowden at the start of the process, and after 3 weeks, push what they have back to Crowden. Any work done this weekend on Crowden will be included. They made this buffer between English corrections and target proofreading, so the players on Crowden have an opportunity to contribute. And then after they've finished everything on Altagram and Crowden, they'll start the community review part of the process. And this is when the work the Altagram team has done is reviewed by players and feedback is given to Altagram via Crowden issues. And yeah, so that's basically the process. Just make sure they're hitting all their bases, getting everything taken care of with all the translations.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to do. There's hundreds and hundreds of bits of text translated into multiple languages and proofread.
Mm-hmm.
It'll take a while. Luckily, we've got a good community to do it with.
Yes, for sure. Very lucky. So moving down into the real juicy stuff. So the plan for the trailers from V here. So rather recently, they started working on trailers, and first of all, we need to decide what exactly they wanted to do with them. The goal they have is that they will have the main trailer, which there's a link to it if you haven't seen it. I think a lot of people probably have.
It was freaking awesome. If you haven't seen it, go check it out.
Yeah, it's awesome. Go check it out. It's on their YouTube channel. It's linked here in the Friday Facts. It was put out, I think, in early 2016. So yeah, they will have the trailer updated to the latest graphics because obviously the graphics are fairly outdated in that with all the reworks they've been doing. As all of it is rendered by a Lua script. It of course won't be absolutely the same since many things have changed, have been added, but we're going to try to match as close as possible as we are very happy with the iconic trailer. And yeah, same here. It's fantastic.
It really iconic. That's how everybody knows the game. It's from that trailer.
Yes. So it's really really great. And then they're very happy with the other one as well, but we won't update the gameplay trailer, at least not for now. So these are, I looked at both of them. They're actually very similar. I can't quite determine what the main difference is. They seem very similar. They were released around the same time, but they are different trailers. This has multiple reasons, mainly that it's created entirely by manual screen recording, which is a lot more work to try to replicate, and the gameplay message of it is still relevant today. It's not helping that if we were to revisit this trailer, we'd like to make some changes, additions to the voiceover, which would mean creating a completely new voiceover, as edit parts would just not feel perfectly integrated. Long story short, they're aiming to prepare a new third trailer dedicated to releasing 1.0 instead. We believe the 1.0, the special 1.0 launch trailer will have more impact than just refurbishing the existing gameplay trailer, as it is more interesting to provide something fresh tailored specifically for its use case. Last but not least, the release of 1.0 is a big milestone, and we find it appropriate to give it its own trailer. And I think this is a fantastic approach. What do you think?
Yeah, this is awesome because they do want to show off all the cool new graphics that they had, that they've been working on. And so a redo of the iconic trailer is a great idea, but who doesn't give a new hypey video for their 1.0 like final release? Like who doesn't want to give that?
Right, exactly. Like you need that. So yeah, I think that's fantastic. They're doing one specifically for 1.0. I hope they had, and it's good. They will be. And it's kind of interesting moving into the process and preparations of how they are going to do this. So of course, not all the details will be spoiled, but there's one specific section he has so many feelings about, it's irresistible not to share them. It's basically, Factorio is much more than just the final resulting product. It's been a journey and a very unique one. V says, I think the process of how Factorio has been created is so important to the result that it's worth giving it a special place in the new trailer. More specifically, this will be done by a series of clips ranging from Factorio 0.1 transitioning all the way to 1.0, showing how Factorio evolved over the years. I think this is a great approach. First of all, I think this is really cool.
I think this is going to inspire a lot of game developers for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If no one else, I mean,
well, yeah,
love to see this stuff.
And it should also help show players just how far the devs have come and how dedicated they are. Once they see once they see what 0.1 was compared to 1.0, it's like completely night and day. It's crazy. Obviously, there's not really enough time in a trailer to go through all the major versions, as the trailer is going to be rather short. So, V reduces selections to the following versions: 0.1 as the original idea, 0.6 as a prototype, 0.7 was released for Friday Facts 1, 0.12 as the early access game. Stable 0.12 was the first version on Steam early access. Also, 0.12 is when they introduced multiplayer for the first time. And then 0.18/1.0 as the version for launch. I think this is a really good thing. I would throw in like 0.15 in here, because that's when nuclear was added. That's when like new science stuff, like the new science packs were added. Like some graphical stuff changed. I mean, nuclear obviously has its own unique set of graphics. So I feel like that's maybe something else I'd add. But overall, I think these are pretty good sections to include in it.
How many of those sections were you there for?
Only 2 of them. I joined very shortly after 0.6. I joined in like 0.8, I believe.
Okay. That's still pretty early on.
Yeah. So I didn't get the experience of 0.6, but 0.8. I don't actually know how different they were, but that's when I joined. So
that is still just pretty crazy thinking back to Friday Facts number 1, version 7 or 0.7. Oh man.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
They've just been cranking these out every single week for 353 weeks.
Yeah, which is like 6.5 years, basically, almost.
Yeah, good on them. Oh my gosh, that is some dedication.
Crazy dedication.
I'll be excited to see it in trailer form.
Yes.
Get a workout montage kind of thing going here. Show all the stages they've been through.
It'll be really interesting.
Be a tearjerker?
Yeah, it might be.
I could go for a cry,
Yeah, I could probably cry, depending what kind of music. Maybe they throw in some like Interstellar music in there.
Oh yeah.
I'd cry. But yeah. So This is where it gets like really kind of technical and tricky. It's technically possible to load a save game from 0.1 in 0.18 if you go through the necessary middle version steps. So I just started casually playing 0.1, imagining I just continue it in 0.6, build it there, then jump to 12, and so on. Note, none of the images below are final as the trailer is being worked on. So this is what 0.1 looked like. Some like windmill miners here, some like belts that look like they were drawn in paint, some furnaces, huge steam engine. It's like a Spartan character or something is kind of what that looks like. Like it sounds like I'm criticizing. I'm mostly just, this is really interesting to see the difference between this one and what we play now.
Absolutely. And honestly, like thinking back to my days of playing like Flash games and stuff, this is kind of nostalgic. It even looks a little better than the Flash games I used to play, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is 0.1. But then, when he had a small factory build, he started to wonder, how do I actually bring this to 0.6? As always, it's not that simple. While technically working, loading obviously does not handle all the changes to the game, like map generation, entity sizes, or recipes. So the issue becomes a thing where the map generation changes a lot between versions. Entity sizes change quite a bit, which really throws stuff off. As you can see, a random factory being built in 0.6. And one thing I want to note on this, I'm going to be honest, I actually like these assembling machines way better than what we have now. Like, these assembling machines are actually what I was hoping like a rework would look like right now. If you look at these, they're quite a bit, I would say they look quite a bit nicer and are a fair bit more detailed than the ones we have now in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely got a shiny metal look to it versus the current ones where even the more upgraded versions are kind of brown, and like the how would you say it, the actual like mechanisms working on the inside are a little less distinct, right?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I personally like that one better, but well, you know, we'll see. Let's see. Oh, I jumped down a little bit. So he didn't even bother trying to migrate after realizing this would mean I'd have to show 0.18 with 0.1 map generation. And just tried to build a new factory in 0.6 and then again in 0.12. Seems like a reasonable approach, as each of the versions works quite significantly different, so the resulting factory should also be different, right? Makes sense. Another random factory in 0.12, getting a lot closer to what we're used to now.
A lot of the old oil works.
Yep. A lot of stuff looks pretty similar. But not so much. Since the trailer is short and quick, it's absolutely critical to minimize confusion as much as possible. This is why after a few days I restarted it all and started by designing the final clip in 0.18 and going backwards, with the main aim to have the factories look very similar. Of course, newer save games can't be loaded in older versions of the game, so I just had to take screenshots of the factory with a grid and try to replicate it in the older versions by hand the best you could. Of course, having played those earlier versions did make it a bit easier. So you can see we're actually now in 0.18. Concept of a factory for the trailer in 0.18. As you can see, and then he says, when I create factories for screenshots, like Friday Facts, I almost always use the /editor, as things can be done very quickly that way. It wasn't necessarily a surprise that 0.12 did not have the same editor as 0.18 does, but I was completely shocked actually experiencing the differences. Another concept in 0.12, yeah, the editor has been vastly improved over the last while.
I always see huge patch notes about them, or did, right?
Yeah, we did.
Like they've got it pretty solid now.
So it's definitely improved a lot, so it's probably harder to work with. And some examples of that is console commands cannot be run in the map editor, which is really annoying. Entities would get removed by X instead of normal clicking. Blueprints would not place real entities. The game cannot be unpaused in map editor, making placing items on belts almost impossible, and so on. And it wasn't just the map editor having gotten used to the copy, paste, pipette, and shift R and so on. The game suddenly felt extremely clunky to use, and everything took much longer than it normally takes. I placed in the map editor what he could, and after that put a lot of items in chests to build more, spent some time playing the factory, making science, and generally making the factory run in order to have things move in the final video. So, some had to be done by hand, some was able to be done in the map editor, and this is a 0.6 factory. Pretty interesting.
Look at those chips. Wow.
I know, man, look at those.
Distinct flocks of color there.
Very. I kind of like it. Let's see. So then, the process was getting progressively more difficult with 0.6 and 0.1. Some things make me actually laugh instead of cry, or both. I'm not going to paste our complete changelog from the last 8 years, but I'll just point out a few things that really stood out. The old quick bar was so confusing I could never find things in my inventory because they were hiding in the quick bar. Technology does not guarantee that if you unlock something, you were able to craft it. No technology tree view without a search function made this even harder to find something. Handcrafting did not automatically craft intermediate ingredients in 0.1, making crafting feel a lot worse. Oof, that sounds really bad.
Yeah. It takes a lot more planning. Plus the inventory portion, the quick bar.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a huge shift in playstyles.
Massive. In 0.6, trains had to be connected by the connect rolling stock hotkey after being built. I never knew this was the original purpose of that hotkey, so that's interesting.
I didn't know that was a hotkey still. Is it?
Yeah, it is. I think it's G, I want to say.
I don't think I've used that before.
It's not really needed now, except for very, very niche cases, because, the things automatically connect, but apparently back in 0.6, you had to manually connect everyone.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. When taking an entity in your cursor, automatically rotate to be facing towards you, just like in Minecraft. In 0.1 in a 2D game, it does not make nearly as much sense though, and I was totally confused what was going on until Korex explained it to me. I definitely forgot to build a vertical train station longer because trains didn't stretch in 0.12 like they do now. Yeah, that was rough back then.
Train stretch?
So it's really hard to explain, but yeah, like back before 0.12, vertical train stations would have like a completely different alignment than horizontal ones. It's kind of hard to explain. They did a Friday Facts on it like quite a long time ago, I think in 0.12 probably, but when you built a vertical station, like the whole like it was actually like longer, like the train spacing, because the spacing like got messed up when you built vertically.
Ooh, okay.
It made it was a huge pain. It was a huge pain to build vertical stations because they were completely different than horizontal stations.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad they got that all like standardized then.
Building rail signals and train stations is a lot of a pain without the visualization helpers we have now. Yeah, for sure. And this is a 0.1 factory. You can see the last few screenshots always share some features. This will be even better in their final version, making the video flow much better between these clips. It felt quite interesting to just play the old versions after all this time. In a way, it felt like playing a different game or some spin-off. Apart from the immediately obvious difference in graphics, the core idea of mining, smelting, and assembly was still there, but with so many differences, especially in interaction. It's usually small differences, but they really add up. This really made me appreciate what we have come that we've come to so much more, and in a way remind me that details we've spent time on were really worth it. Eventually I got through it all, and I can now record clips for the trailer. You'll be able to see them on the 14th of August on release day. So I'm excited.
That's awesome. Wow, that is a ton of differences. I'm excited for him that he was able to go down that nostalgia path and see both how much they've progressed in a really nice way, but also like, oh man, I'm so glad that old bug is gone with,
Right, exactly. So yeah, this is really interesting to see. I look forward to seeing the trailer. Also, one note, when they showed off the preview for the website in Last Friday Facts, and we were guessing what the rocket is, people said maybe when you click on it, it launches a new trailer. Sadly, no, but it's still very cool. So this is what the rocket at the bottom of the page does. That is such a cool way to
That's a pretty cool
automatically
image.
bring you back to top.
I actually used it like the first time when I opened up this Friday Facts. I read it all, got to the bottom. I'm like, oh, what does this do? Brought me all the way back up, and that was good because then we started reading it together here.
Yeah, it's
Pulled me right back up.
fantastic. I love it. Um, but yeah, I think that's it. Do you have any other thoughts before we call it here?
Let's see. So we've got uh, a trailer rework as well as a new trailer coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there was like a third one they were mentioning. What was that?
It was like they had two trailers. They had the gameplay trailer and they had the
Ah,
main trailer.
gotcha. Okay, sweet. Yeah, I'm gonna be looking forward to the redo and the new trailer. That's gonna be a good time. I really hope that they do capture the essence of the original, and it's not like Electric Boogaloo 2 or something, you know? Because that main trailer, it was so addicting, man. Everybody wanted to play it after seeing that. If you're at all into these kind of little micromanagey and macromanagey games, oh man, if they can just nail that again, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm really glad that they're basically keeping the main trailer because it is absolutely fantastic. I've watched it probably like 5 or 6 times, and this was like years after I already owned the game. You know,
Yeah,
it's just so good.
just the musical orchestration building up into the bigger view of the factory, and then the biters attacking, and the train coming by, and it's just it's a masterpiece.
It really is. Yeah, it's super exciting. Great stuff coming down the pipe here, and I think that's gonna do it. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed. Leave your thoughts below. Always interested to see what you guys have to say in regards to all this, and of course on the forums and the Reddit for the devs. But until next time, we will see you later.
Catch you later.